Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Smith. I am the Director of DICE, and I'd really like to welcome you to this first DICE talk of the new year. Yes, which is going to be a conversation with Dr. Winnie Kiiru. And just to give a little bit of background about broadly what the DICE talks are for, the idea for these is to have a conversation with important and interesting people in the from the conservation world. And yeah, the idea in particular is just to have a sort of a light-hearted chat, partly as a response to COVID and to have a bit of human interaction in during, well, certainly a lockdown in the UK. If you're watching for the first time, then I'd really encourage you to sign up to the mailing list for the DICE talks. So there's the web link there on the DICE website. If you go there, you can be on our MailChimp list and you'll get to see who is going to be talking next. And also all of these talks end up on YouTube. So they'll be on, this one will be on Facebook for a while, and then we'll edit it and put it on YouTube so that everyone can watch. So also please look at the DICE YouTube channel to see all the things that we've been doing in previous months. So I haven't had a message yet that this isn't working, which is very promising. So I can, with absolute delight, introduce Dr. Winnie Kiiru. So Winnie is from the Elephant Protection Initiative, and we'll be talking a lot more about her incredibly important and illustrious career in elephant conservation. And importantly for us, Winnie is also a DICE alumna, having done her PhD with us a few years ago. So it's fantastic to be able to welcome Winnie here. One of the upsides of the pandemic and us all going online is it means that we can talk to people from around the world. And marvelously, by introducing Winnie, I can also get her to tell us where she is. So welcome, Winnie. It's fantastic that you're here. Where are you at the moment?
Thank you. I'm in my favorite place on earth, that is Amboseli National Park in southwest Kenya. This is the place where you are most likely to see a good number of elephants. If you walk around, if you drive around Amboseli, you're going to be a happy person. There's lots of elephants. And during COVID, we've had a baby boom in Amboseli. So everywhere you go, there's babies. We've got 2 pairs of twins that we all look for as often as we can, all born last year. So we're having a wonderful time in Amboseli.
Ah, fantastic, fantastic. So how long have you been in Amboseli? What have you been doing this week? I know that yesterday you were driving all over the place. What have you been doing?
Well, actually, one of the things COVID has done is that it puts you on Zoom calls practically all the time. So one of the things I've been doing is talking to a lot of people from many different parts of the world about everything from how to manage ivory to how to develop the next generation of women leaders so that's when I'm doing Zoom calls. When I'm not doing that, I'm driving around looking for Angelina and looking when her twins and just basically enjoying Amboseli and all the beauty that it brings.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yes, so just a sort of in terms of your career at the moment, I know that you're a lecturer at Jomo Kenyatta University, that you're a member of the Board of Trustees for Amboseli Trust for Elephants, and you're senior technical advisor for the Elephant Protection Initiative. And reading up on you, I also didn't realize that in 2016, you're identified, you were given an award by the Kenyan Association of Women in Tourism in recognition of your amazing work. So yeah, I'm sure there's lots to talk about today, but I wanted to start off by asking, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I wanted to be a vet, not because of, I knew exactly what vets did. It's because whenever the vet visited my grandmother's, which was mostly for artificial insemination, because she had not her, the cows, but
thank you for clarifying that.
There was a lot of hula baloo around it. The whole place would be scrubbed and cleaned, and lots of good food would be cooked. And I thought, that's how I want to be treated, like royalty. So I want to be a vet. I never became a vet, but that's what I wanted to be.
And then you, so I mean, before going to university, what did you do at school? Was your sort of love of nature and elephants fostered there, or did it come a bit later?
Well, so I was identified as a science student, kicking and screaming. I really, really liked the arts. I thought I was destined to be a lawyer, really, because I've been talking since I was a baby. So I thought really that before this thing of being a vet, I actually did think that I would have a good career talking. But because there weren't that many girls that were good at sciences in school, and I happened to be one of them, I was shunted to biological sciences. And unfortunately, our education systems don't put us in front of nature and wildlife as much as it should. And so it takes a long time to form ideas about what you really want to be. You spend more time worrying about passing exams and doing them properly, as opposed to careers, really. So I wouldn't say that my kind of going towards wildlife conservation had so much to do with the exposure in school or clubs or what. I went to school at a time when you really needed to pass the exams. So you spent a lot of time studying for those. It's only a little later that when I finished university, actually, I met the women who started Amboseli Elephant Trust, that is
Okay.
Dr. Cynthia Moss and Joyce Boo, who started to bring me to Amboseli and show me elephants. And I had just joined Kenya Wildlife Service at the time, and it just was a light bulb moment for me. I loved the outdoors. I could spend endless hours looking at elephants. I loved knowing new stuff about nature and wild. I had lost so much time. I knew so little about my country and the wildlife. And so I kind of soaked it all up, and that became the beginning of my career. And it makes me sad now, actually, when I teach in the university and see exactly the same. All these enthusiastic, lovely young people who've never been to a national park, but they are studying conservation, biology. All these wonderful young people who you walk around the university can't identify 3 trees. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because a lot of time is spent just cramming what's in the books so that they can pass the exams.
Right.
And so there's just not enough time to fall in love with that which you're studying. So I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just the way the system has developed, and whatever, I would love to leave a legacy in the university of changing that, spending more time outdoors and actually getting people to love what they are studying.
Yeah, and I mean, would you say that there are sort of broader barriers to people in Kenya? For example, I know in South Africa, where I've worked quite a bit, there's always this focus on trying to get more people to visit the parks, but often the cost of actually getting to the reserve is more than the cost of getting in. Are there similar barriers in Kenya?
Absolutely. Apart from the fact that the education system is so packed with theory and stuff, and the pressure to pass exams is such that a lot of hours are spent by students behind textbooks, the little time that's available to maybe go to a national park, the cost of getting there is prohibitive. And there's also a mental barrier that a lot of young people, unless their parents have somehow had the benefit of going to national parks in a way that they actually did it themselves, there's a mental barrier that says you need to be taken by someone.
Right.
It's bureaucratic. Someone needs to take you. You need to know somebody. You need to be introduced. It's not open. It's not something you can just get up, put your kids in the car and take them to the national park. It just seems so bureaucratic and so out of reach. And that's a barrier that we who've been in the conservation world have tried to change in so many different ways, but we are not there yet. I'm waiting for the day a family will just get up in the morning and instead of deciding to go and visit their rural home, go to Nairobi National Park or come to Amboseli National Park, because it doesn't look impossible. It doesn't look like it's something you need to have a lot of money for, or a certain kind of car, or that you need a certain skin color. I'm sorry to say, but a lot of people in my country associate going to the national park with being a foreigner. a tourist, So it's just so many barriers, and indeed cost is one of them, but there are also mental barriers that need to be broken down.
Yeah. And then more broadly, I mean, when you're talking to your students, when you're talking to other people, what advice do you give about getting a career in conservation?
Okay, first, I talk about it's going to give you great joy. Being out in nature and learning everything about our wonderful natural heritage is going to give you great joy. But I also state that you need to learn to live on little or none, because you'll be broke a lot, because you spend a lot of time volunteering, and you're going to spend a lot of time out in the bush. You'll be hungry a lot. So you need to, almost part of the training is how to live on nothing. But the joy and the fulfillment and the wonderful things you're going to see and the wonderful moments, you're going to sleep under the stars and see a sky that nobody else has ever seen. You cannot replace the joy with any amount of money. So you'll be sometimes envious of your friends who became lawyers or accountants in their big V8 and whatever. But the truth is, the joy and the beauty and the happiness you're going to experience is worth it. So, you'll be very happy. You might be quite broke.
Fantastic. Yes, I mean, I should flag up that people who can see me now will guess correctly that I haven't been starving that often. But yeah, I've certainly been broke from time to time. And if you weren't a conservationist, what do you think you'd be doing? Do you think you would have gone into law, or would something else have come along instead?
Whatever I'll be doing, I'll be talking. It's the one thing I can't stop doing. So maybe I'll be a politician or an activist of some sort. I'll be talking about something and I'll passionately be pushing it, and I'll be making sure that it's changing. So I'm not sure what that profession is, but yeah, I'll be talking.
And in terms of your career, what was the worst bit of advice that you were given?
Oh, you're not going to like this because you were my supervisor. Publish or perish. I'm still here.
Yeah. No, definitely fair enough. You definitely haven't perished. There is, we have the evidence in front of us. Yeah. So, I mean, what would you say to people who are talking in those terms? I mean, obviously, the publish or perish is strongly for people who are generally just going to be academics. Is that why you think it's not great advice, that it, for someone like you who's doing lots of in the field conservation, it's less relevant?
I think the perish part is the one that needs to be taken out of this advice. Because I think people need to be able to communicate what it is that they've learned or researched or whatever, but you can also talk about it. I don't publish, I talk. So so there's a lot of people out there who just need to hear it, just so I know. And some of the best, I mean, look, I spent days and days reading so that I could write my PhD. And if people didn't publish, then I wouldn't have stuff to refer to. But I just think it's overrated sometimes that a lot of people spend so much time trying to publish instead of living. It's nice to live, just live and don't kill yourself with 100 publications a day. I mean, just, to get some time to live. It's I think it's terrible, but yeah.
No, I mean, completely. And, I think all of us know how most people in the conservation world don't read scientific papers. So yeah, I am very confident that the message from your work gets out far more strongly by you talking to all the right people, rather than relying on them finding a PDF and plowing their way through it.
Says Bob.
Oh well, I promised you the many more of my colleagues are publishing way more, and like you, I think the living is more important. But in terms of just sort of more broad conservation questions, I think one nice interesting thing to ask people is, which book do you think every conservationist should read, but a book that isn't about conservation?
Oh, you're not gonna like this. Okay, so
I think this proves that we don't vet the questions.
I think a lot of conservationists need to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an old book by Dale Carnegie, because the reason why we are not getting enough stuff done in conservation is because we've got these little clubs of ours where we talk to each other, we go to all these conferences and we all know each other, but the people who decide to build a road through the national park you love the best don't ever come to these conferences. So we need to win friends, we need to influence people. That's the book I think every conservationist needs to read, because conservation is impacted broadly by people who know nothing about conservation. And so you need to win them over. I have one more book.
Go for it.
I think people need to read The Element of Style, because a lot of conservation writing is so stuffy. Nobody's gonna read it. So learn how to write and write stuff that people are going to enjoy reading. So 2 books.
Great. And how did you come across them? Who suggested that you should read those books?
Actually, the How to Win Friends and Influence People was given to me by a coach, someone who was helping me at a time when I was completely stuck. And they said, one of the things, you're so serious, you're too much of a scientist, relax, read this. and then the Elements of Style just popped up in a bookshelf somewhere. Right. And I looked at it and I said, oh God, I should have read this one before I wrote all that stuff. Thankfully, I haven't written much.
And how useful did you find the coaching? I know that it's sort of an increasingly popular thing, especially with sort of more senior people in conservation organizations. Did you find it useful?
Elements of it, yes. Yeah, I mean, I did it at a time when I felt quite stuck, and I needed to just go back to basics. One of the things to enjoy kind of a life like conservation, it's very easy to run away from stuff. I can retreat to a beautiful place like Amboseli and just hide my head in the sand that everything's falling apart elsewhere. but you have to do life, all of it, right? So sometimes the coach helps you to look at all the elements of your life and kind of see stuff that you've dropped that you do need to take care of, and stuff that you could spend more time on, structuring, kind of that helped me. Eventually, I didn't do everything I was helped to do, but to some extent, I did get unstuck, I think, to a certain extent, but I did get stuck again, and I didn't get a coach this time. I just bullied myself through. Okay.
Right. Okay. And with what you're doing at the moment, what do you think is the thing that you do that most benefits conservation?
Well, I think I'll go back to the idea that we in conservation tend to feel like we know so much and we don't understand why people don't know why you should plant a tree or look after the ones you have. We don't understand why people don't get it that elephants need space. We don't understand why people don't get it when you say you tarmac a road, there'll be road kills. We don't understand why people just think they want to get to places faster. We don't get that. So I feel that what I do that helps people a lot is I talk in places with unlikely people who are just not conservationists, and often they come back to me and say, oh my goodness, all that stuff you said, I've never even thought about it. very recently, I was talking in a forum that I was invited by a leadership team. And I said, you guys, you know, tourism is not conservation. Just the fact that you went and saw nice things, you did not become a conservationist. To actually conserve something, you need to do something. Yes, you do something. And not doing something, not looking. It's actually maybe educating yourself, going out, helping a community, working with them. There's things you can do. You can go start an operation planting trees. So a lot of people need to things broken down for them. Conservationists, we also get quite arrogant because we have so much information and we don't understand why people can't see simple cause and effect stuff. So for me, what I try to do is break things down, make them simple, and talk. And I talk to everybody. Kindergarten kids, heads of state, everybody. If I find you, you've got ears, you're finished.
And in terms of talking to heads of state, sort of how much time do you get with them, and how much do you think they listen?
Okay, I think you know the answer to that. You get 5 minutes. And in those
Right.
5 minutes, you better know what you're talking about, right? Well, actually, sometimes you do get more, but often you have your 5 minutes. And it's a question of just knowing what they are really interested in and putting your agenda in there. If you have 5 minutes, you better know how to put your agenda in there in 5 minutes. What we've discovered, for instance, working for the Elephant Protection Initiative, is that a lot of the decisions that need to be made to save especially large migratory animals like elephants have to do with land use planning, spatial planning at a scale that has huge political cost. And so the people who are able to bear that cost are really at the highest level of political decision making. They're heads of state, they're ministers, and they also need networks. So you need to bring them together so they don't feel like they're making decisions that are isolated. So you need to be able to speak to them and then bring them together with others so you can have a critical mass of like-minded heads of state that can then make those decisions. Simple or not simple, but decisions like destroying stockpiles of ivory in countries like Kenya. You're talking about a president who decides to ban 100,000 kilos of ivory and knows the headline next week is President bans money. You know, you have to give them enough reason to see why this storing this ivory is costing money anyway. It's never going to do anything. You need to make a statement. Kenya has basically made some policy decisions about ivory trade that do not really support storage. So you have to break that down in 5 minutes. And so I think the short answer is you do get your 5 minutes, and sometimes your 5 minutes can be very effective. And if they are, you will have moved stuff. If you get 5 minutes in the ear of a president or someone that close, man, you are making a difference. It doesn't always have to be that high up. It doesn't have to be. It could be an official that could talk to another who could talk to another one. But you do have to break things down and make them doable and relate them to what is happening every day so that they are not in PDFs. They actually look real, and then people can take action.
Fantastic. And I mean, given your experience, I've got a new question for you. I'm always intrigued the role that sort of competition between countries plays, that sort of one country will do something because it sees otherwise it might be left behind by another, or there always seems to be that sort of rivalry. Do you find that when you're talking to different leaders, does it help to say, oh, this other leader's doing this, why don't you?
Yeah, in another word, it's called peer pressure. Peer pressure is great. It's fantastic.
And so peer pressure works at the presidential level too.
It does. It does. It's great. I mean, everybody likes to feel good. Everybody wants to walk into the next big meeting hall and have 2 or 3 people that are going to give them a nice firm handshake and say, we did it together, even if they all did it kicking and screaming. But like feel, oh man, we've done it together. And we've seen this, for instance, with the closure of domestic ivory markets. When we started to see 10 years ago, huge amounts of ivory moving around the world, one of the things that became very clear to us, we do need to advocate the closure of some of these big domestic ivory markets. And the truth is, the moment the big guys started to do that, the market started to fall like dominoes, right? So today, China's domestic market is functionally closed. The US domestic market is functionally, the UK just closed theirs very recently. And I think we keep telling their, oh, look who's closed their market. Now you need to close yours. So right. Now it's the EU. So it works.
Great. And then the sort of final conservation related question I wanted to ask you for this section, we will do different sections as we go along, is who's the most interesting person that you've worked with in conservation?
Ooh. Okay, I guess I could say okay. I'm not going to make this cliche. I'm going to say this. Very recently, I've started working with young Maasai girls in conservation camps, and I bring them in for a week or, however much time we have. COVID was great because schools were closed, so I could do a lot of that. And what I realized is that people who spend their time very close to nature because of their way of life, for instance, if you're a young Maasai girl, you're essentially going to be going out in the morning with a herd of goats, and you have to look after them, 50 goats the whole day. You have no water, no food. You depend on the outdoors, and the elements have to be your friend. I mean, and you have to be very observant. You're not going to be walking around walking on pufferdas. You're not going to get your goats killed by pythons. So you need to see the track of a python and know that there's a python nearby. You need to see the path marks or whatever, pug marks of whatever to cross around and know that you do need to get out of there. So you cannot imagine how delightful it is for me to go on my morning walks with these girls. And they pick up when snakes have, all these different snake skins snakes have molted. And then they tell me, oh, this is a different snake from this one. And I'm like, how do you know? And we look at the patterns and they're different. And I'm like, whoa. And it's really that for me, the idea that conservationists are not clever people who sit behind desks publishing so they don't perish. It's really the person who spends a lot of time with nature, is very observant, is able to see the cause and effect. They are never going to write it down anywhere. But if you now take what they have and then just build in a little more, just build around it. It's like a pot, you just add a little clay around it so that they can see how they can scale up what this knowledge does for them on every day, how they can use it now to maybe just conserve a space or conserve an area. Or it's really building on what they already know. And I kind of knew that, but now I'm experiencing it and loving it. So the most interesting conservationists I've worked with are little girls. Like my favorite one is called Naisandi. She's, just lovely young girl who teaches me so much. And I think this to me is what conservation has become. Just humbling myself to a point where I learn from the most unlikely people. And they tend to be the most interesting conservationists to me.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. So my next set of questions are about being in the field. I think I might know the answer for this one because you might be there. But what's your favorite place for wildlife? And if you are sitting in your favorite place at the moment, what's your second favorite place?
You are absolutely right. Amboseli National Park is it. If and when I want to just be happy and to feel complete, this is where I come to. And I've spent many, many hours, many, many days here. I don't just love the elephants and the wildlife. I love the people. I just feel so complete when I'm in Amboseli. I also, I like the mountains. There's something about being up on a mountain, even though my legs are it's getting harder and harder for my knees to get me up. But I do really enjoy hiking. So I love the Aberdares because it's so many different roads you can use to get to the top, and there's wonderful waterfalls, and it's very different from the plains, which is what Amboseli is, but there's just something about the mountains that is so amazing. So I love the Aberdares. I like anytime I have an opportunity to go and hike up there. I love Mount Kenya. So I hiked up the Ruwenzoris and loved it. So I love mountains.
Yes, I mean, seeing your photos on Facebook of being on the top of various different mountains, always just very impressed that you've been able to do all that cool stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. My knees don't think so.
Are your knees so a real problem now, or does it just hurt a little bit?
The doctor had the nerve to say, Winnie, this is how arthritis begins. And no, I don't get that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure arthritis wouldn't dare.
But you grow older and your knees start to complain. But like I said, the joy of seeing what I see is greater than the little pain that I suffer. So I'm cool with it.
And in terms of a country that you've never been to before, but you'd most like to visit for their nature and for their wildlife, what's on the top of that list?
Australia. I really want to go to Australia. And I say that with, it's kind of, well, they don't have elephants, so I've never really had a reason to go there. But but I need to find a way to get myself to Australia. It sits in my head every time I watch, stuff on National Geographic. I just want to see a kangaroo. I want to see. I had a toy, a kangaroo, but I want to see one. So I want to go to Australia.
I'm sure someone watching this will be able to invite you. I think you can be quietly confident post-COVID that you'll get to Australia.
I'm going to Australia. Yeah, I would love to go. I hear it's massive. It's huge. So I need to know where exactly in Australia I want to go.
Yeah, I mean
that's a small problem.
Yes, yeah. I mean, as an English person, I found Adelaide with the climate there just absolutely perfect. Whereas sort of a bit further north is lovely, but too hot for me. But obviously you'd be able to cope with it a lot more.
Okay, can you tell me whether the kangaroos are in any trouble? Like, will they be around when I go?
Yes, I mean, if you're talking really loudly, they might hop away, but as long as you're relatively quiet, it should be all right.
Okay, great. Okay.
And in terms of being in the field, where's the worst place you stayed the night because of conservation?
Oh, I've stayed in very bad places, Bob. Oh, when I started out, I got my first job in Kenya Wildlife Service. I spent all my time in forest counting elephant dung, because that's the only way we could estimate how many elephants were left. Remember, okay, you don't know, but this was the 90s. We were just coming out of a decade of some serious poaching. So nobody had any idea how many elephants were in Mount Kenya or in the Aberdares or in the Loroki forest. And some clever guy in Central Africa had come up with a formula where you counted the poo and put it in a computer, woo, and it told you how many. So counted a lot of poo and slept on a lot of it. So bad places to stay: on the top of Mount Kenya in the rain, surrounded by stinging nettles when your tent doesn't work very well. And there are those little black ants all over the place. Just make that mix and see how that goes.
So what could you do about the ants? You obviously couldn't do anything about the rain.
You take off everything and just try and do battle with them. And then after you're all out of your tents in your birthday suits, then you suddenly realize that this is the way you do it. You take off everything, try and find the ants, and then make a fire and sit around it and just forget that you're ever gonna get any sleep. Because the thing is, they go everywhere. You can't do anything about them. The moment they found you guys, they found you. And you cannot get rid of them. They're just everywhere. So you make a fire, if you can, huddle around the fire. Okay, try and find things to kind of cover yourselves, because everything has ants on them and you all ran out without any clothes. It's not pretty. Bob, please don't laugh. It is not pretty. But I remember at least one or two of those. So you want to know bad places to sleep? On a mountain, it's raining. There are safari ants and stinging nettles. That's a bad place to be.
I mean, it sounds like an excellent team building process. I'm sure at the end of it, you were able to work with your colleagues even more.
Even today, we still love each other.
And I think I might know the answer to this question, so I might add an extra bit. Is what's the largest wild animal that got into your accommodation? And I can guess what that might be. So if it's elephants, also what's the second largest animal that got into your accommodation? And in all cases, how did you remove them from where you were staying?
I thought you were going to ask the largest and the smallest. Well, I've just told you about the smallest. That's the safari ants.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a really interesting incident. It wasn't even in Kenya. This was in North Luangwa in Zambia. So I visited this amazing family that was running a project there for Frankfurt Zoological Society. And they said casually, oh, at night, don't worry, elephants will come around. What they didn't tell me is an elephant was going to try and drink the water, like from the tap in my room as I slept. I would have a trunk come in, and this elephant knew exactly how to open the tap and drink the water. And in horror, I got up. I mean, the sound was just something else. I got up. There wasn't very much between me and this elephant. And I looked at the thing, and actually the elephant did get excited when they saw me. I mean, it's like this elephant was just one of those that walked around the camp and started to make some really funny movements with the trunk. I ran out of the tent only to realize I wasn't safe outside, right? There were more elephants. I ran back in, but this time this one was having a really good drink of water from my tap. And I started screaming. And one of the elephants outside decided to rub their bum on the pole that held my tent up. And my tent was moving at the same time as I was screaming. And this other one, it was drama all around. And it's amazing how big an elephant is when you are helpless. In fact, every time I think about farmers and the human-elephant conflict issues, how you get out of your house because you had something and you go out into the field and all you can see is like massive stilts, because you can never really see the elephant. You see these massive stilts and this black mass in front of you, and you can't move it. It's like this massive, huge thing. And that was my experience in Zambia. There was this massive elephant trying to get into my tent, another massive one outside rubbing against my, and I just thought, I'm gonna die like right now. But I can imagine what it is like, how frightening it is, especially because at that time, they're eating the produce that you're gonna depend on to feed your family, or even to take to market to pay your child's school fees. So you do feel the need to protect it. I didn't own the tent. I didn't care if they brought it down, but I was just trying to save my life. But you can imagine what it is like. It's your life, your livelihood, it's everything, and it's going. And I sometimes just, totally understand why farmers in rural Africa, it's very hard for them to appreciate elephants.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult for them because it's scary. It's difficult. You're helpless. Yeah.
So
So
with
yeah.
the schoolgirls that you're bringing to Amboseli, do they have stories to share about that? I mean, does it continue to be a big problem?
Yes. Now, um, the population around where I am is quite low. And so the school where these girls go to can only go up to a certain level of primary, like halfway through primary school. Then the other half, they have to go to a school where they walk 2 hours to go to school. So they wake up and it's kind of just light, maybe about 6 in the morning. And as they walk to school, they don't know what they're going to find. It could be a whole herd of elephants. It could be a bull somewhere. It could be lions. It could be whatever. They walk in groups, but every so often, a girl will drop out of school because the journey is just treacherous. And sometimes they know of their relatives or friends who've been trampled by an elephant. So the fear is real. So when we do this conservation camp, we talk about the landscapes of fear. What is it that you're most frightened about? And almost always it's the fear of being killed by a wild animal. And this is real for a lot of these kids and actually results a lot, especially for the girls, in school dropouts. A lot of them stop going to school
Right.
just because the danger is too much. Yeah.
And on a sort of more personal note, what species are you afraid of? So elephants for very obvious reasons. I think people would be weird not to be afraid of an elephant if it was drinking water from their tap. But yeah, and what else?
I really don't like the way rats move around the house. I don't like it. Every time I'm in a place where there are rats in the accommodation, and this happens a lot. If you're a conservation, but you will go to places where there's rats. I don't sleep very well because I have these images of the rat running across my mouth.
Yeah.
So I'm not cool with that. I don't like that.
And which species do you think is the most overrated?
Oh, humans, of course. It has to be us.
Anything else? And
Well,
anything that other people work in conservation and you think, oh, why are you wasting your time doing that? They're not so important.
I think you want me to make enemies, Bob. I'm not
So
falling for that.
you're more happy to make enemies with the whole human race.
Yeah. They already know I don't like them that much. I don't. I like them. I just don't like what they do. I just don't like the fact that they don't want to be humble and walk placidly through the earth. I just don't like that they don't want to walk softly. You know, I just
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
just my problem. I just want them to walk softly through the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
what's the rarest thing you've seen?
Oh, a northern white rhino. There's only 2 females left.
Ah, yeah.
We're trying to make some, but I've seen those 2 females. Yeah. That's, I think, is actually, there are other things I've seen, but I actually just dawned on me the other day that they are really going. It's only 2 females left. Doesn't say much for
Yeah.
that species. Yeah. I mean, if it was a
No,
male and a
yes, you're
female,
unlikely
there'll
to find
be
anything
something.
rarer.
Yeah, 2 females? Come on. How did they even do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, before sort of wrapping up a bit, I just wanted to ask you about your time in Canterbury and at DICE. Obviously, we are very proud to have you as an alumna. and you were always a brilliant member of DICE. But yeah, I mean, we'll have people listening in who are current students and also people from Canterbury. So focusing on the positive, what do you miss most about Canterbury? What did you enjoy about your time there?
Oh, Canterbury is just beautiful. I don't think I have more delightful photos than, the autumn foliage, just the leaves, just the colors that everything turns to. So beautiful. And I can just remember all the many walks that I, just walking around trying to forget my PhD thesis. I do miss that. It was really, really, and I lived with wonderful people in wonderful places. I lived in a convent at some point.
Of course, yes.
Wonderful. They are some of the people I miss the most. I taught them a lot of Kenyan stuff. We sang Jambo Bwana a lot of times, and and I taught them where to find Tusker beer, and we also learned a few things about how to make pilau. It was great. The other thing I miss about Canterbury, okay, the pubs. There was a pub down the hill as you went from university, just before the railway crossing.
The Unicorn?
Was very, oh, that's the one. You kind of found people you knew there or who knew you. They smiled at you every time you walked in. They didn't really know you. They had just seen you so many times, they smiled back. But that was nice. They knew exactly
in
which
terms,
beer you
yes, and they probably still would.
Yeah.
And your favorite thing about DICE?
The diversity, up to this day, Bob, I still benefit hugely from the diversity in DICE. I remember petrified about walking into Juba in South Sudan to go and talk to them about ivory and finding out in the room and just thinking,
Fantastic.
oh, DICE, thank you. and this And this has happened to me over and over. I have found DICE alumni in Ethiopia, in West Africa, even here in Kenya, all over the place. I go to a CITES meeting and I'll be walking down the hall and Dan Chandler will, hey, Winnie. And I mean, it's just, Enrico will be somewhere phoning me and saying, we're going to go tea at your place. And it's fantastic. I've lost my earphone, Bob. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? It was inevitable that it was going to get lost at some point.
It stayed on for quite some time, right? I might lose the
very impressed. Yes. And a very loaded question. Is there any British food that you miss? I know for most people the answer will be no. And is there any British food that you remember with particular horror?
Do you really want me to make enemies like that? Okay. Can it be the same dish?
It can be, yes.
Fish and chips and mushy peas?
Yes, mushy peas.
Mushy peas. It depended on where the fish and chips was. Sometimes it was completely disgusting. And other times it was glorious. So every time somebody says fish and chips, I say a prayer because it can be fantastic and then it can be soggy and really yuck. So there it is.
Yes, it is. For something that we are so proud of, it can be really horrible sometimes. But I'm glad you had some nice ones as well. So just to finish off back with some more sort of conservation-y questions. What's your best idea about conservation that everyone ignores?
Oh, well, I think my best idea is that conservationists are not clever people that are all full of knowledge and education and papers and what. That conservationists are just people that are curious, that want to know about nature, that are ready to do something about it. And I don't know why people ignore that when I tell them, you don't even have to be clever. You just need to be passionate. You just need to change something. You just want to do something. You don't even need a degree. You just need to get up there and do something. I don't know if that answers your question, but to me, that's it.
Yeah, no, that really does. And where do you see conservation going in the future?
Oh, Bob, I'm an optimist. And to me now, what I find really amazing is how many conversations I get into about conservation with most unlikely people. I'm amazed by how much people now understand the connection between, say, climate change and the freak rains and floods and stuff that we're having everywhere. I'm amazed by how much people say in fields like technology are thinking more.
Oh,
You don't
there,
need to
Winnie?
fly. Sorry, can you hear me?
You froze for a little bit, so we just lost the last 30 seconds.
All right. I just said that I'm amazed that people have realized the carbon footprint that they left behind by traveling everywhere. You don't need to go anywhere. Look what COVID has done to us. That we can actually, so I'm optimistic. I think that conservation will become more inclusive, more diverse, more collaborative. There'll be a lot more people in conservation. In Africa, the age group now, 70% of Africa's people are under 35. They are so interested, so engaged. And all we need to do is invite them to the table. It's a good problem, right? It's worse when you're dealing with indifferent, uninterested people who don't really care. I think our challenge now is conservationists to come off our high ground, our ivory tower that we seem to sit in, and just come down to the basics and break it down, because people are interested, they're engaged, they want space on the table. We just need to make that room on the table. Conservation is going to be great because everybody's thinking about it.
Fantastic. And the final question, what are you doing next?
Oh, what am I doing next? Developing the next generation of African women conservationists. These are going to be groundbreaking women. They're going to make a difference. They are going to do it where they are with what they have, but they are going to make waves. They're going to make a difference. For too long, conservation in Africa has been a man's job, a man's world. This is changing. Just watch this space. I am part of a group of women who are doing this, and we are not just talking about it, we're doing stuff. We just launched the first cohort of 20 African conservation leaders that's going to go through a course the whole year, and they're going to pay it forward, bring more. In another 10